Welcome to Politics News Wolf US channel. The war between Ukraine and Russia completely displaced the balance of power between the giant countries of the world. One of Kiev's most important allies faced off with China, which denies its support for Russia and is considered Asia's superpower in the past weeks have seen US-China tensions escalate. In early February, a U.S. warplane shot down what Washington concluded was a Chinese spy bubble off the U.S. East Coast, prompting loud condemnations from Beijing. Later that month, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, after meeting with senior Chinese diplomat Wang at the Munich Security Conference, warned Beijing that China was considering giving deadly aid to Russia for its war effort in. There have been speculations that if this happens, there will be serious consequences for Beijing. U.S.-China relations seem to be improving after a meeting between US President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping in November last year. However, the fact that the Navy forces of both countries drew critical routes indicated that the recovery period had completely disappeared. First of all, the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy began exercises that could be described as a show of force around Taiwan, 1,000 miles from the northern entrance of the South China Sea. On the most remarkable day of the Chinese People's Liberation Army exercises, the U.S. Navy carried out a massive retaliatory action. The U.S. Navy has sent a destroyer close to the disputed island in the South China. The reason why this island is so controversial is that it is an island that Beijing built with military facilities to strengthen its claims on the island. We can call this island one of Beijing's red lines. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet reported that the guided missile interceptor USS Milius passed within 12 nautical miles of Mischief in the Spratly Islands known as China's Nasha Island. The distance specified as 12 nautical miles is an important detail as it is the internationally recognized border of a country's territorial waters. Mischief Reef is located 1,400 kilometers from Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Taiwan also claim the Mischief Reef in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. However, Beijing defended its territorial claims to the island by building a military infrastructure on the island. The USA emphasizes that this move by China violates the Law of the Sea Convention. The USA argues that structures such as Mischief Reef that are submerged at high tide do not qualify for territorial waters in their naturally formed state. In the U.S. 7th Fleet statement, they stress that land reclamation effort, facilities and structures built at Mischief Reef will not change this characterization under international. China argues that nearly all of the vast South China Sea, including many remote islands and gulfs in the disputed water body, is part of its territorial waters. While the United States does not openly acknowledge the areas claimed by China, a spokesperson for the People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command stated that the U.S. destroyer illegally entered Chinese waters near the Mischief Reef, which Beijing calls the Maji. Air Force Senior Colonel Tian Zhuli stated that China has unquestionable sovereignty over the South China Sea islands and nearby waters. The 7th Fleet, the so-called free roam operation of the U.S. destroyer, pointed out that the ships of any nation defended their right to operate in the area. U.S. warships regularly conduct such so-called free roaming operations in the South China Sea. The guided missile destroyer USS Milius has operated for the second time in 3 weeks. It was previously sailing near the Paracel Islands known as the Shisha Islands in China, in the north of the South China Sea. The 7th Fleet of the United States Navy gave a clear intimidation to China. In its statement, the 7th Fleet showed their determination to fly, sail and operate wherever international law allows, regardless of the location of US, overseas claims and current event. China's Defense Ministry spokesman Tan Kafei accused the U.S. of undermining peace, instability, and violating sovereignty in the South China Sea. After the U.S. previous so-called free roam operation, China's escalation of tensions in the South China Sea has increased tensions between the United States and China. Beijing has repeatedly warned Taiwanese President Xi not to meet with US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and has openly threatened that if he does, strong and decisive action will be taken. Beijing launched operations around Taiwan. Following Tsai Ing-wen's return from a 10-day visit to Central America and the United States, where she met with Kevin McCarthy, large-scale military exercises by Chinese forces around the island of Taiwan, a self-governing democracy in the northern part of the South China Sea that China claims to be its territory. despite never ruling by the ruling Communist Party, has triggered the U.S. to conduct so-called free roam operations in the South China. The U.S. needs to show China that it can protect Taiwan. Meanwhile, the Chinese military conducted air and naval blockade operations near Taiwan on the last day of the planned exercises. During these exercises, a Chinese carrier was involved in combat patrols. Taipei related another wave of warplanes flying close to the island, and military exercises around Taiwan. The People's Liberation Army of China used various types of aircraft, including nuclear-capable H-6 bombers, armed with real missiles. As tensions grew between its neighbors, Japan closely followed China's military exercises around Taiwan with great interest. Japan has expressed concern over China's military operations in the region, mainly due to the proximity of the southern Japanese islands to Taiwan. Japan's defense ministry stated that Shandong, a Chinese aircraft carrier, is conducting air operations near Japan's Okinawa Islands. The Chinese aircraft carrier was accompanied by 3 other warships and a support ship. Chinese jet fighters and helicopters have taken off and landed on the aircraft carrier 120 times. Given the size and severity of the exercise conducted by the Chinese People's Liberation Army, the U.S. had to. Judging by China's reaction to the destroyers sent by the USA, it seems that the USA has achieved its goal in these difficult days. The ongoing clashes in Ukraine had an impact on its ammo and weapon inventory. Despite the fact that the United States is not currently directly engaged in a military conflict, it has significantly supported Ukraine in all areas, including real-time satellite intelligence. This support weakened both European countries and the USA due to the long duration of the war. But the USA will not stop supporting Ukraine against Russia and Taiwan against China. At the same time, the U.S.'s support for Taiwan also benefits countries such as the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Brunei. These countries are at odds with China in that Beijing claims sovereignty. Over 80% of the South China countries with opposing views about China and the South China Sea are principles that are not strong enough to deal with China, even if they are united. Therefore, the support of the United States in the South China Sea is very valuable for these countries. For China not to swallow small countries in the region, it is essential that the United States not withdraw its support from the region. After the last incident, the U.S. may need to further increase its activities in the South China. After China's overreaction about Taiwan, the U.S. continued to keep its channels of communication open with the People's Republic of China. But so far Beijing has rejected requests to meet with both Defense Minister Lloyd Austin and Chief of Staff General Mark Milley. The USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group and Marin Amphibious Ready Group are currently in the area. Chris Meagher, the Pentagon's Deputy Defense Secretary for Public Affairs, stressed that they will continue to conduct routine operations here. Meek said, "We will not be deterred from operating safely and responsibly in the sea and skies of the Western Pacific in accordance with international law," noting that the United States will not abandon its dogmatic stance in the region. While the Great War in Ukraine continues, the confrontation between the USA and China in the Far East may lead China to help Russia. This may cause the United States to increase its aid to Ukraine, or it may its pressure on China. Of course, this is only a possibility. The fact that the ties between Russia and China have been severed reduces the possibility of this possibility. Thank you for watching the video. If you find it useful, please comment and share the video for us. It will make our channel more known. See you in the following videos. Thank you very much.